there. Michigan right now, number 1, followed by St. John's, Louisville, Kentucky, Iowa, Indiana, tied for 7th, Creighton and Auburn, LSU, and Washington rounding out the top 10. You will notice there are some extreme differentials from a volume perspective. Louisville only has 3 players, and yet they're in the top 3, which means their quality is exceptional, whereas you have Iowa there with 8 different commits, showing that quantity was a big emphasis for them. You can also see the breakdowns of 5 stars and 4 stars in that class. But Trotter, we already talked about Michigan having the number 1 ranked player overall in the portal, but they got a lot more than that. Talk to us about Dusty May's class.
Yeah, Dusty May likes his big men, right? Like the ability to revamp that roster, right? Vlad Golden is going to be gone. Or Danny Wolf is going to be a first-round pick potentially. So they had to go do work in the portal, and they go to Merez Johnson, a familiar face from Illinois, complete rebounding machine. He could be one of the top per-minute rebounders in the country next year. And then a Mara as well from UCLA. You think about it with Yaxel Lindenborg, Merez Johnson, Mara. It's like people are like, oh, what? So many bigs, right? So many bigs. All of those guys do different things. Lindenborg is a pass dribble shoot 4. Merez Johnson is a rim runner who can really, really rebound, and he just flies up and down the floor. Really vertical, is a vertical athlete there as well. And then Mara is like that post-up guy who can, whip dimes behind his head and has a chance to be, a really interesting piece for them. So yeah, all of those bigs should be helpful. The huge X factor is Elliot Cadeau out of North Carolina, the point guard there. He is tantalizing at times with his ability to get into the paint at will, to get those big fellows the ball, hit the lob threats. He should have absolutely a lob threat there with Merez Johnson, a post-up guy that he can find with Mara. Lindenborg will be huge for him, but it just comes down to the consistency with that jumper and what type of defender are you getting with Elliot Cadeau, because there's been times where he's a very good defender. There have been times where he actively hurts your defense with some Olay defense at the point of attack. If they can unlock him, he has a chance to be, could he lead the Big Ten in assists next year? That's not crazy with this roster construction. A lot of things are kind of hinging on Cadeau being very good. And Dusty May, it's kind of a little bit of a risk, but it's a gamble he's willing to take. And he's kind of earned the benefit of the doubt with some of last year we were like, oh, is Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden not going to work? Worked out pretty well. So same type of frustrations now. Wouldn't be surprising to me at all if Dusty May figures a way to figure it out.
Elliot's got to get his swag back. I mean, the visible inconsistencies in his shooting mechanics this year at North Carolina and last year as a freshman, I think relative to high school, were just totally different. You could see he did not play with anywhere near the same flow, rhythm, confidence. He's got to get that back. I think that impacted his turnovers, which we didn't necessarily talk about yet, but second overall in the ACC in turnovers. We know he can thread the needle, but you got to take care of the basketball as well, especially when you're talking about live ball turnovers. You're giving up transition baskets because of it. So Elliot Cadeau certainly of huge importance there. Let's talk about St. John's. Number 2 class overall right now in the portal. We said RJ will not be coming back, but they have replaced essentially 4 starters there. It began with Bryce Hopkins, who was widely considered to be headed to Georgetown. Of course, he once played for Ed Cooley at Providence. He will stay in the Big East, but now he will play for Rick Pitino. They've got Oziah Sellers coming in from Stanford. They've got Ian Jackson from North Carolina, Elliot Cadeau's former teammate, that Rick Pitino tweeting that he's his next point guard. I present that to you without comment. And then they have Josan Sannon. The interesting thing to me about Sannon and Jackson, both of these guys were top 25 recruits a year ago. They both had one-and-done aspirations. They go to St. John's, I don't want to say on the rebound, but clearly with the NBA still on their mind, that hasn't necessarily been part of the talking point yet. But we know both of those guys are going to want to get to the NBA sooner rather than later. What's your take on this St. John's class?
Well, St. John's finished outside the top 200 in half-court offense last year. That's not good enough. I think that this group has a chance to have a much higher ceiling offensively. Oziah Sellers is a plus shooter. Ian Jackson is a plus shooter. Josan Sannon, I would put him pound for pound. You want to play horse against somebody. Like, Josan Sannon is not the guy you want to play horse
Late
against.
January, he was 47% from the three-point line. He ended on a slump, and I think it finished around 37 or 38%, but he was making them.
Yeah, so then you add those shooters to a Bryce Hopkins and a Zuby Ejiofor front court. Like, this group is going to be super physical. Hopkins, I think, is going to be a massive X factor. He's only played 4 games since New Year's Day in 2024, so it's been a while since we've seen him actually play games, but I think he can be a half-court hub for this group. I think he can be a mismatch hunter, those pick-and-pop threes, attacking long closeouts, and then the glass. Like, St. John's is going to be a monster on the glass with Hopkins and Ejiofor. Like, I love St. John's this year. I think St. John's and UConn, boy, both of those two teams are going to be at the absolute top of the Big East. Those games are going to be really, really fun and high-level games next year.
Two very different roster plans. One program went out and acquired 4 different starters. The other program went out and retained basically everybody, brought in a starter in Silas Demery and another guard in Malachi Smith. Number 3 class in the country is Louisville. We talked about it. They only have 3 players, but they got a brand new backcourt. Adrian Woolley, maybe the best mid-major transfer in the country. Eric Bossi is going to tell us more on that later, coming from Kennesaw State. Ryan Conwell, just a terrific shooter from Xavier. Isaac McNeely, another terrific shooter from Virginia. And that's what I want to talk about. The collective shooting at Virginia is awesome. And the fact that they got Mikkel Brown, who's arguably the best pure point guard in high school basketball, to kind of orchestrate all that, the spacing they are going to have, the creativity that Pat Kelsey is going to be afforded with his playbook, with multiple shooters on the floor at the same time, multiple movement shooters. That's going to be a really fun thing to watch. My question for you is, given that they have allocated so many resources to their backcourt with those 3 transfers, let's face it, they were all expensive transfers. Mikkel Brown was not cheap out of high school either. What does that leave in the front court?
Yeah, they had to mix and match it a little bit. And Sananda Fru is a guy that I would keep a really close eye on. Our recruiting ranking teams loves him, a big man out of Germany. And
he's 22 years old.
That's
so
what I'm
he's
saying.
A freshman. He's going to be a 22-year-old freshman next year.
And we saw international big men but like move from the international game to the college game and had a lot of success this year. Like Tomislav Ivisic at Illinois was very, very good. Samet Yagitoglu at SMU was a really productive high major starter. I think that's what Louisville expects out of Fru. Could be a difference maker for them. But they have their irons in the fire in a lot of different ways. We know what Pat Kelsey wants to do. He wants to play 8, 9, 10 guys. You need multiple bigs. So Case and Pryor, we expect him to get back. Javon Hadley, talking about the portal is great, but retention wins championships. Keeping a guy like Hadley and Pryor in your system will be huge. And then you throw in James Scott. Could you potentially get him back? And then Ali Khalifa is another huge X factor,
Love
right?
that guy.
A kid out of BYU. He's really transformed his body.
BYU last year sat out this season.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he transformed his body. He looks great, right? He looks really great right now, and he can shoot it a little bit, but the playmaking as a 5
really
out
pass.
Yeah. That's something where you see those dribble handoff things that they could run with a McNeely or with a Ryan Conwell, in addition to what they're going to do in transition. Like, Louisville's loaded. Louisville's really, really loaded. Think about another game I'm really excited about. Louisville, Kentucky. Like, yes, please, sign me up. Both those teams think that they have chances to be a Final Four team next year, and it's hard to disagree with the rosters that they put together right now.
All right, now we've got Travis Branham waiting for us here. We've said he's been on the phone here, so real quick, though, just want to talk. Give me your 30-second version on that other team from Kentucky, Mark Pope. What has he got coming in?
Yeah, it's a
number 4 class.
Great class. Jelon Lowe, I think, is a huge bounce-back candidate, is going to be awesome for them. Jaden Quaintance is maybe the highest ceiling transfer in this class. If he gets healthy, he could be a potential top 5, top 6 pick next year. And then they've just added terrific pieces surrounding that. Cam Williams out of Tulane can really shoot it. Denzel Aberdeen can guard and shoot it, played at a high level for the national champions at Florida. So, yeah, Mo Diabate, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring him up. One of my favorite defenders in this portal hall. He can guard literally anybody. So Kentucky, the roster looks a lot different, but they're going to be very, very good this year in year 2.
Maybe not as good of a shooting team in Lexington, but certainly a more athletic team. I think a better defensive team as well.